Hello, this is Chetan Mehta from SkillCubator. In today's session, we'll talk about the difference between the requirements gathering and requirements elicitation. So even though the requirements gathering and requirements elicitation are used interchangeably, there is a vast difference in these two terms. So let's take a look into these two terms and see what the difference is. While requirements gathering is a pretty much straightforward and easy to understand, analyze, and helps us document the requirements, requirements elicitation is a bit complex. So when we say requirements gathering, it means that the requirements are clear, the stakeholder knows for sure what their needs are, and everything else is well thought out. As per IIBA's body of knowledge, BABOK, the requirements elicitation refers to extracting or drawing out the requirements from the stakeholder community to uncover their real needs or real requirements rather than their stated needs or stated requirements. Now, to understand the difference between the requirements gathering and requirements elicitation, we'll take a scenario. But before that, let's see some key highlights regarding the difference between gathering and elicitation. So when we are talking requirements gathering, the first thing is the stakeholder knows what they need, what their real needs are, what their real requirements are. The root cause is known, the requirements are fairly straightforward, and it's less time consuming. Whereas when we are talking elicitation, the stakeholders themselves, they are not clear what they need, what their real needs or requirements are. The root cause of the problem is not known. The requirements are pretty complex. And the last thing is, it's also time consuming to get to the real requirements or the actual needs of the stakeholders. Now, to understand the difference between these two terms, let's take a hypothetical scenario where a person called Joe, a fictitious figure, goes to a car dealership and he wants to buy a Jeep. So he goes to the dealership, he walks into the dealership and checks with a salesman, asking him that if they have any Jeep in their inventory. Now the salesman comes in and starts talking to this customer called Joe, and I'll go through series of questions. So here the salesman is asking some questions to the customer Joe to get to the actual needs or actual requirements of the customer Joe. Now one thing is clear, that Joe comes in with a very clear need, saying that he wants a Jeep. The salesman can definitely go ahead and show him a Jeep and close the deal and everyone is happy, right? That's one thing where we can safely say that it's a requirements gathering, where the salesman took the requirements from Joe, what exactly his needs are, gives him the right product, close the deal, and Joe comes back home with a Jeep. That's a classic example of requirements gathering. But now let's see how things will change when we elicit the requirements. So the first question which the salesman asked to Joe is, what is the main purpose of buying this vehicle? Is it for the adventure trips, off-road trips, road trips, or just domestic purpose, right? Commute and family, things like that. The second question the salesman asked is, what sort of environment or what sort of climate will you be living in, right? Is it going to be cold, moderate, hot, humid? The third question is Is mileage a concern? The next question is, who else will be using this vehicle? Right? The fifth question is, what about the repairs? Number six, do you care about the resale value? Number seven, do you plan to use it for your daily commute? And last but not the least, what's the budget? So the salesman asks these 8 questions one by one, and let's see what Joe has to respond. Right? So the first question about the main purpose of buying a vehicle. So Joe says that I'm not going to do a lot of road trips, off-road trips. I'm going to mainly use it for domestic purpose, commute, family, and maybe occasional road trips. Right? Joe is going to live in a mid-Atlantic area where the fall and winters are can be pretty cold. Right? So the next question we talked about was, is mileage a concern? Um, well, Joe says that I'm going to do maybe 2 or 3 road trips per year with family and might be using it for commute as well. So definitely, if I can save some money on gas, that's going to be good. The next question was, who else will be using the vehicle? So in this case, it's only Joe, but he has a family. He has a wife, 2 kids who will be using the car or the vehicle, right? They will also be sitting in it. The next question was the repairs. Well, Joe wants a vehicle which is affordable and which can be economical to fix any issues, any repairs. It should not be too expensive. Then we talked about the resale value. And Joe thinks, definitely, I need a good resale value. What if I want to sell it 4 or 5 years down the line? I should get some money out of it. I don't want to throw it away if I have to resell it few years down the line. And then the budget. We talked about the budget, right? So definitely everyone has a budget, and here Joe says that I have a budget of roughly $30,000. I can go 5,000 plus or minus, but I don't want to exceed beyond that. So you can see the list of questions being asked by the salesman, and the customer here, Joe, is answering all these questions. Now let's go over all of these questions and answers again and see where we conclude, or what exactly do we derive out of this. So the first question was about the main purpose of buying this vehicle. And as per Joe, he's not going to do a lot of road trips. So the question is, why do we spend all that money on a vehicle when you're not going to use those features a lot? Right? That's one of the basic questions Joe would be thinking now. The next question was, in which climatic conditions is he going to live? And as we said, Joe is going to live in mid-Atlantic area where fall and winters can be pretty cold. So it makes no sense to buy an open Jeep where you have 7-8 months of cold. You need a vehicle which can protect you from this cold, right? So then you see the way things change when we start asking these right questions and we start responding to those questions. The next question is regarding the gas, the mileage, right? So Joe says even if he's planning to take 2 or 3 road trips in a year with his family, definitely he wants a vehicle which can help him save some money on gas. Now, definitely, if he's going with a Jeep, it's going to cost him more as compared to, let's say, any other vehicle. Like it can be a sedan, it can be a minivan, it can be SUV, any one of those. Right? The next question was, who is going to use this vehicle? So we said, like, as per Joe, it's going to be used by him alone, but he has a wife and 2 boys, and on such long road trips, definitely he needs more space, more legroom, comfort, rather than a true 100% off-road vehicle. We talked about the repairs and resale value. Definitely Joe cares about those things, repairs and resale value, because he's planning to sell it 4 or 5 years down the line and doesn't want to spend too much money on repairs as well. And finally, the budget. So Joe has a budget of 30,000 US dollars plus minus $5,000. So as you can see that the salesman did an excellent job in asking Joe right questions, eliciting the requirements. Had he done the requirements gathering, he would have ended up buying a Jeep, right? Maybe he would have gone home with exactly what he had asked for, but few months later, he would have felt that his decision to buy a Jeep was not the correct one. The reason being, the stated requirement was not his underlying requirement. His underlying requirement was he wants a vehicle which is going to solve the purpose, help him uh, go from point A to point B, can be used by his family, and do a couple of road trips in a year. He wanted a vehicle which can help him in this cold, harsh environment, climatic conditions. He wanted a vehicle which is economical, can save some money on gas, can be used by his family, kids, more space, more legroom, comfort, has good resale value, cheap on repairs, and is affordable as well. So from Jeep, he determined that his actual need was not a Jeep, but it was something like minivan. So similarly, we as a business analyst have to uncover layers of stated requirements in order to reach the actual requirements, which will help the customers in satisfying their actual requirements, their actual needs. So based on the example, we can see that the requirements elicitation always focuses on drawing out the real requirements, real needs from the stakeholders, and doesn't simply assume that what's being stated is exactly what they need. Now in this case, the whole discussion started from the Jeep, but based on the questions the salesman asked and the response we got from Joe, things slowly changed from Jeep to van. The Jeep was the stated need or requirement, but the underlying need or the underlying requirement was not Jeep, but was a vehicle which could meet all the criterias with Joe wanted. Finally, let's take a look at few of the requirements elicitation techniques. which are used as part of business analysis. The first one being brainstorming, second one is focus group, next one is the requirements workshops, interviews, questionnaire surveys, document analysis, prototyping, and the last one, which is the working sessions. The working session is not mentioned in IIBA's body of knowledge, neither it's mentioned in PMI's body of knowledge, but it's also one of the elicitation techniques we can use to elicit the requirements from our stakeholders. I'll create some more videos to discuss each of these techniques in detail. So that's all for today's session. Thanks a lot for watching this video. For all your training needs, please call us on 703-200-9921. Email us back on info@skillcubator.com. Also visit our website at www.skillcubator.com. So if you haven't subscribed to our channel, please do so, and also do get notified for any updates. Please click the bell icon below. Thanks. See you soon. Bye for now.